The worst part about finding your wife in bed with another man isn't the betrayal, it's the paperwork. I mean that literally. When I walked into my living room at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon and saw Nadia tangled up with some guy on our couch, my brain did that thing where it splits into two tracks. Track 1. Emotional devastation. Track 2. What the hell are all those forms doing on the floor? Let me back up. My name is Ray Coleman. I'm 39 years old and I work at Buffalo Forge. Been there 16 years. Union steelworker, good benefits, decent pension building up. The kind of job that's getting harder to find these days, which is why I treated it like gold. I'd been pulling doubles for the past month because we got hit with a burglary back in October. Lost a bunch of electronics, some jewelry, Nadia's laptop, my tools from the garage. The cops wrote it up, we filed the insurance claim, and I figured I'd work the extra shifts to replace everything while we waited for the check to come through. That Tuesday, the foreman sent me home early. Hydraulic line burst on the number 3 press, and they shut down our section for repairs. I should have called Nadia, but honestly, I was just looking forward to a hot shower and maybe catching the end of the Bills game I'd recorded. I came in through the side door from the driveway, walked past the kitchen, and heard sounds from the living room. Not just sounds. I heard my wife making sounds I hadn't heard in about 6 months. My stomach dropped before my brain even processed what was happening. I rounded the corner and there she was. Nadia. My wife of 11 years. Naked on our couch with some guy I'd never seen before. His pants were on the floor next to a pile of manila folders, and that's what my eyes locked onto after the initial shock. Not the betrayal itself, but those folders. Our address was typed on labels. Insurance company letterhead. Jesus Christ! The guy scrambled backward, grabbing for his pants. Nadia's face went from flush to white in about half a second. Ray, you're supposed to be at work? Yeah, I can see I'm interrupting something important. My voice came out steady, which surprised me. Inside, I was imploding. Get dressed, now. The guy was pulling his pants up, fumbling with his belt. He was maybe 42, 43. Soft hands, button-down shirt that probably cost more than my weekly paycheck. Not the kind of guy you'd expect to find in our neighborhood. Listen, this isn't, he started. Shut up, I said. I wasn't yelling. That came later. Right then I was too busy watching him scramble to collect those folders off my floor. He was trying to be smooth about it, casual, but I saw what they were. Claim forms, photographs, our address, our policy number. Who are you? I asked. Elias Grant, he said automatically, then looked like he regretted it. He's from the insurance company, Nadia said quietly. She'd pulled her shirt on, was struggling with her jeans. Her hands were shaking. Ray, please, just let me. From the insurance company. I bent down and picked up one of the folders he'd missed. Opened it. There was a photo of our bedroom taken from the doorway, showing the dresser with its drawers pulled open. The scene we'd found when we reported the burglary. The claim for the break-in. Ray, it's not what you're the adjuster? I looked at Elias, who'd finally got his pants fastened. You're handling our claim? He didn't answer. Just grabbed his jacket off the back of my recliner. I looked at another form in the folder. Claim amount, $47,000. Settlement recommendation, approve full amount. Signature line at the bottom, Elias Grant, Senior Claims Adjuster. That's when it clicked. There was no break-in, I said slowly. Nadia started crying. Not the pretty kind of crying, the ugly, desperate kind where you know you're caught and there's no way out. Get out, I told Elias. Now, before I do something we'll both regret. Listen, Ray, can I call you Ray? There's a lot of money here, and if you're smart about this, get out. That was the yelling. It came from somewhere deep in my chest, and it made both of them jump. Get the hell out of my house right now or I'm calling the cops. Elias grabbed the rest of his folders and practically ran for the door. I heard his car start up outside, tires squealing as he pulled away. Then it was just me and Nadia. She was sitting on the edge of the couch, fully dressed now, sobbing into her hands. Part of me wanted to comfort her. 11 years of marriage, that instinct doesn't just die. But a bigger part of me was doing rapid calculations, puzzle pieces snapping together. The burglary was fake, I said. You staged it. Ray, please, where's the stuff? My tools, your laptop, all of it. Where is it? She didn't answer. Nadia. Storage unit, she whispered. Off Walden Avenue, unit 247. I sat down in my recliner because my legs suddenly felt like they couldn't hold me. How long has this been going on? Ray, how long have you been screwing the insurance adjuster? 3 months, she said quietly. And the claim? We filed it 6 weeks ago. I laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. So you've been sleeping with him, staging fake crimes, filing fraudulent insurance claims, and I've been working 16-hour days trying to replace stuff that was never even stolen. I can explain. Then explain. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Because right now, I'm trying to figure out how my wife turned into a criminal and a cheater, and I'm coming up empty. She wiped her eyes, smearing her mascara. I was scared to tell you. Tell me what? About the debt. That stopped me. What debt? Credit cards. I have a problem, Ray. With shopping. I know I do, I couldn't stop and it got away from me, and by the time I realized how bad it was, how bad? She took a shaky breath. $23,000. The room tilted. 23. How the hell did you rack up $23,000 without me knowing? Separate cards, my name only. I opened them when I got the promotion at work. They kept sending me offers, and I needed things, Ray. New clothes for the manager position, stuff for the house, and then it was jewelry, and then I was buying just to buy, and so you decided to commit insurance fraud? Elias suggested it. She looked up at me, desperate. He came to the house for something else. Some stupid claim about the fence after that windstorm, remember? And we got talking, and I was so stressed about the money, and he said he knew a way to help, and you started sleeping with him. It wasn't like that at first. He was just being nice, listening to me, not judging me like... She stopped. Like I would? I finished. Yeah, Nadia. I probably would have judged you for hiding $23,000 in debt. That's kind of a marriage-ending secret. I know. That's why I didn't tell you. I was trying to fix it myself. By committing fraud. By taking the opportunity he offered. Ray, $47,000. That would have paid off all the cards, given us a cushion, and you never would have had to know. Except I do know. Because I came home early and found you two on our couch with the paperwork spread out like some kind of twisted pillow talk. She flinched. I stood up, started pacing. My mind was racing. The break-in scene, the drawers pulled out, stuff scattered. You did all that? She nodded miserably. And the police report? I called it in while you were at work. Described everything like it really happened. They never even dusted for prints or anything, just wrote it up. And let me guess, Elias made sure it sailed through the claims process? He said it was foolproof, small enough not to trigger a big investigation, large enough to be worth it. I stopped pacing and looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I'd married who used to pack my lunch and leave notes in it, who laughed at my stupid jokes, who cried when we found out she couldn't have kids and swore it didn't matter. We'd make our own family anyway. How did we get here? I asked quietly. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know, Ray. I'm so sorry. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught. She didn't have an answer for that. I grabbed my keys off the side table. I'm going out. Don't be here when I get back tonight. Go to your sister's. Go to a hotel. I don't care. But you can't be here. Ray, please. I need to think, Nadia. And I can't do that with you here. I left before she could say anything else. Got in my truck and just drove. No destination in mind. Ended up at Delaware Park, sitting on a bench watching joggers go by like the world was normal and my entire life hadn't just detonated. The thing is, I wasn't even thinking about the affair at first. I know that sounds crazy, but all I could think about was the fraud. My name was on those forms too. I'd signed the police report. If this came out, I could lose my job, my union card, the pension I'd been building for 16 years. And then I thought about the affair, and somehow that hurt less. At least that was just betrayal. The fraud was betrayal plus putting my entire future at risk. I called my brother-in-law Mike around 6 p.m. Mike Torres, married to my sister Elena, been a Buffalo cop for 12 years. Good guy. We got beer sometimes, watched games. Ray, what's up, man? Mike, I need to talk to you. Not as my brother-in-law, as a cop. Pause. That sounds serious. Can you meet me somewhere private? How about that diner on Genesee, the one with the good pie? 20 minutes, I said. Mike was already in a back booth when I arrived, still in his uniform. Off duty, but he'd clearly just finished a shift. He took one look at my face and ordered 2 coffees from the waitress without asking what I wanted. All right, he said once she'd gone. Talk to me. I told him everything. The whole sordid story, start to finish. The only thing I left out was how many times I'd thought about driving to Elias Grant's house and introducing his face to my fist. Mike was a cop. He didn't need to hear that part. When I finished, he sat back and whistled low. Jesus, Ray, that's a lot. Tell me about it. And you're sure about the fraud? Like, evidence sure? I saw the paperwork, forms, photos, everything. Plus, Nadia admitted the whole thing. The stuff is in a storage unit. Mike drummed his fingers on the table. Okay, here's the thing. Insurance fraud is serious, but it's usually handled by state investigators, not local police. These guys are specialists. If you want to report this, I can point you in the right direction. But, he said carefully, your name is on some of those forms. You filed a police report. From the outside, you look like an accomplice. My stomach dropped. I didn't know. I believe you. But proving that might be complicated. And if Nadia's willing to throw you under the bus to save herself, she wouldn't. Mike gave me a look. She staged a burglary, lied to you for months, and was sleeping with the adjuster processing the fraudulent claim. You sure you know what she would or wouldn't do? Point taken. What are my options? I asked. Well, you could do nothing. Let the claim process, take the money, keep your mouth shut. But that makes you complicit. Not an option. Didn't think so. Or you could report it, cooperate with investigators, and hope they believe you were an innocent party. And option 3? Mike leaned forward. You gather evidence first. Build a case that clearly shows you weren't involved. Then you take it to the investigators with a bow on top. Make yourself the good guy in the story instead of the maybe accomplice. How? Well, for starters, you could check out that storage unit, Take photos of everything that's supposedly stolen. Get documentation. I'd come with you, but you're a cop, and that might be legally weird. Yeah, but as your brother-in-law, I can give you advice. And my advice is to document everything. Photos, videos, receipts if you can find them. Build a timeline, and do it fast before anyone realizes you're onto them. I thought about it. Elias knows I found out. True, but does he know you're going to do anything about it? For all he knows, you're just a pissed-off husband throwing his wife out. Happens every day. I did throw her out. See? Perfectly normal reaction. If I were Elias, I'd be sweating bullets wondering if you're going to report him. But I'd also be hoping that your anger at Nadia outweighs your civic duty. Most guys, that's exactly what happens. Betrayed husband syndrome. They care more about the cheating than the crime. But I'm not most guys, Mike smiled. No, you're not. You're Ray Coleman, and you've been showing up to work for 16 years, even when you didn't feel like it because that's what responsible people do. So yeah, I figured you'd want to handle this, right? The waitress brought our coffee. Mike added sugar to his, stirred it slowly. One more thing, he said. If this Elias guy has been doing this with Nadia, chances are she's not his first. That hadn't occurred to me. You think he's done this before? Insurance adjuster who suggests fraud to pay off a debtor? Guy who conveniently starts an affair with his mark? Yeah, Ray. I'd bet my pension this isn't his first rodeo. And if that's true, there might be other claims, other women, other frauds. How would I find that out? You probably can't, not legally, but the investigators could. And if you hand them one case with great evidence and suggest there might be more, they'll dig. These guys live for patterns. I sipped my coffee. It was terrible diner coffee, but somehow it tasted right for the moment. So I document everything, build a case, then what? Then you go to Diana Walsh. Who's Diana Walsh? State Insurance Fraud Bureau. She's a pit bull. Handles cases all over Western New York. If you walk into her office with solid evidence, she'll run with it. And if there's more to find, she'll find it. You know her? Worked a few cases together. She's good people, thorough. Won't railroad you if she believes you're clean. I nodded slowly. It was a plan. Not a great plan, but better than sitting in my truck screaming at the universe. Thanks, Mike. Don't thank me yet. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. Your marriage is toast, you know that, right? Yeah, I said quietly. Yeah, I know. And Nadia's going to face charges, probably lose her job, maybe do time. I know that too. But you're still going to do it. I met his eyes. My dad worked 30 years at the mill. Never called in sick, never cut corners, never stole so much as a pencil from the company. He died 6 months into retirement with barely anything in the bank because he played it straight his whole life. I used to think that was stupid, but you know what? He died with his dignity. That's worth something. Mike raised his coffee cup. To dignity. I clinked my cup against his. To dignity. I went to the storage unit the next morning. Nadia had texted me the code for the lock, along with a long message about how sorry she was and how she never meant to hurt me, and could we please talk. I deleted it without responding. The place was one of those big metal buildings off Walden Avenue, the kind where people store furniture from dead relatives and Christmas decorations they'll never use again. Unit 247 was in the back corner. I cut the lock with bolt cutters from my truck and rolled up the door. There it was. Everything. My Milwaukee drill set, still in the case. Nadia's MacBook, her jewelry box, The flat screen from our bedroom. My dad's old watch collection that I'd kept in the garage. Everything we'd reported stolen, sitting in neat boxes like we were just moving it from one place to another. I took photos of everything. Every box, every item, every label. Recorded video walking through the unit, narrating what I was seeing. Then I opened boxes and photographed receipts, serial numbers, anything that could prove these items belonged to us. It took 3 hours. When I was done, I had over 200 photos and 40 minutes of video. I called Mike from the parking lot. Got it. Everything's documented. Good. Don't touch anything else. Leave it there. You want a paper trail showing you discovered it but didn't tamper with anything? Right. What's next? Now you start digging into the rest of it. Check your bank statements, credit card bills, anything that might show a pattern. And Ray? Look for other claims. Insurance stuff for things that happened before the burglary. You think there's more? I think people who do this once usually do it more than once. And if they do, there's money moving around. Follow the money. So I went home, to my empty house because Nadia had taken me at my word and cleared out, and started digging through our paperwork. That's when I found the other claims. The first one was from 8 months ago. Auto claim. Nadia had supposedly been rear-ended at a stoplight on Elmwood Avenue. Minor damage, whiplash, settled for $800–900. I vaguely remembered it, but I'd been on double shifts at the time and she'd handled everything. The second was from 14 months ago. Slip and fall at the grocery store where she worked. Wet floor, no sign. She went down hard and hurt her back. Settled for $2,500. I remembered that one better because she'd worn a back brace for 2 weeks. I'd felt terrible for her. Now I was looking at the documentation with new eyes. The fender bender. No police report. Settled quickly. Paid directly to Nadia as a check made out to her in the body shop. But we never got the car fixed. She said the damage was minor enough that we'd just live with it. We used the money to pay down credit cards, or so she'd said. The slip and fall. Statement from the store manager confirming the incident, medical documentation from an urgent care clinic, insurance company settlement within 30 days. The check was made out to Nadia alone. I never saw a cent of it. And now the burglary, $47,000. Total, $68,400 in fraudulent claims over 18 months. I sat at our kitchen table with paperwork spread everywhere, and I thought about what Mike had said. This wasn't Nadia's first time. She'd been running this play in increasingly bigger amounts, learning what worked, getting bolder. And Elias Grant's name was on the auto claim as the adjuster. So he'd been involved from the start. He'd groomed her, taught her how to work the system, probably taken his cut of everything. And somewhere along the way, they'd started sleeping together. Or maybe that was part of it from the beginning. My phone rang. Nadia. I didn't want to answer, but I needed information. I picked up. Ray, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I found the other claims, I said flatly. The car, the store, all of it. Silence on the other end. You've been running insurance scams for over a year, I continued. With Elias. How much did you make? Ray, it wasn't supposed to be forever, just until I got out of debt. How much? The car was $9,000, but the body shop took a cut, so we got $6,000. The store was $12,000, but we split it with Kevin, so… Kevin? Who the hell is Kevin? The store manager. He helped with the slip and fall, made sure there was documentation, witnesses and… Jesus Christ, Nadia. How many people are involved in this? It's not like that. Kevin he suggested it actually, after I told him about my debt. He said he'd done it before with employees, that it was easy money, and you went along with it. I was desperate. You weren't desperate, I was yelling now, couldn't help it. You were in debt from shopping too much. That's not desperate, that's just being irresponsible. Desperate is not being able to feed your kids. Desperate is losing your house. You weren't desperate, you were just unwilling to face the consequences of your own bad choices. I heard her crying on the other end. Part of me felt bad. The rest of me didn't care. Ray, please, can we talk about this in person? I'll tell you everything. I'll help you understand. I understand plenty. You committed fraud. Multiple times. You dragged me into it without my knowledge. You had an affair with the guy facilitating it. And you involved other people, which means this is a whole conspiracy, which means the penalties are going to be even worse when this comes out. What do you mean, when it comes out? Did you think I was just going to let this slide, Nadia? Pretend it didn't happen? I thought you loved me. I thought we could work through this. I did love you, past tense. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to keep from going to prison for your crimes. Ray, you can't turn me in. I'll lose my job. I'll go to jail. You should have thought of that before you started committing felonies. Please, Ray, please, I'll do anything. We can pay it all back. We can… How? With what money? You're $68,000 in the hole from fraud alone, plus $23,000 in credit card debt. That's almost $100,000, Nadia. What are you going to pay it back with? She didn't answer. I'm documenting everything, I said. And then I'm turning it over to investigators. If you're smart, you'll get a lawyer. Soon. I hung up before she could say anything else. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Then I went to see Kevin Walsh. The grocery store was one of those regional chains, decent place, where Nadia had worked for 6 years. She'd started as a cashier and worked up to assistant manager. I'd been proud of her for that, back when I thought her success was legitimate. Kevin was at the customer service desk when I walked in. Early 40s, thinning hair, friendly smile that disappeared when he saw me. Ray, he said carefully. What brings you by? We need to talk, privately. He glanced around. The store was busy, mid-morning rush of retired people buying groceries. I'm working… Now, Kevin, unless you want me to discuss your insurance fraud scheme right here in front of customers. His face went pale. Give me 5 minutes. He got someone to cover the desk and led me back to the store office, a cramped room with a desk, filing cabinets, and a monitor showing security camera feeds. Look, Ray, I don't know what Nadia told you, but she told me you helped her fake a slip and fall, took a cut of the settlement. I'm betting that wasn't the first time you've done something like that. He sat down heavily in his desk chair. It was just once. Lying to me isn't going to help you. Okay, fine. Twice. 3 times counting Nadia. But it's not like anyone gets hurt. The insurance companies are billion-dollar corporations. They don't even notice. That's not how it works, and you know it. They notice. Then they raise premiums for everyone. So yeah, people get hurt. Kevin rubbed his face. What do you want? I want to know how many times you've done this. Names, amounts, dates. Why? Because I'm not going down for my wife's crimes, and if there's a pattern here, I need to know about it. I'm not giving you names. Then I'll get them from the investigators when I turn over everything I have. But if you cooperate now, maybe, and this is a big maybe, I'll mention that to them when they show up. Could count for something. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a notebook. I kept records. in case I ever needed to prove it was their idea, not mine. Smart, I said. Stupid to do it in the first place, but smart to keep records. He handed me the notebook. Inside were dates, names, amounts. 7 employees over the past 3 years. Total settlements, $89,000. Kevin's cut, roughly a third of each. You made 30 grand off this, I said. Give or take. And you never thought maybe this was wrong? Everyone does it. Insurance fraud is practically a sport around here. You'd be amazed how many people. I don't want to hear it. Give me this notebook. That's my insurance policy. Your insurance policy is worthless. Either you give it to me now, and maybe I mention your cooperation, or I tell the investigators you refuse to help and they get a warrant and tear this place apart looking for evidence. Your choice. He handed over the notebook. One more thing, I said. Elias Grant. How many times has he processed claims from this store? Kevin pulled up something on his computer. At least a dozen over the past 3 years. All suspicious? I don't know, I'd have to check. Then check. He typed, clicked, scrolled. Looks like 6 were probably legit. Customer actually hurt, lawyers involved, that kind of thing. But the other 6? He looked at the screen, then at me. Yeah. Those all look hinky. Similar patterns to what I did with your wife. Send me that list, my email. Ray. Send it or I call the cops right now. He sent it. I left the store with a notebook and a growing sense that this was bigger than I'd thought. 6 employees at one grocery store. How many other stores? How many other businesses? If Elias was running this con systematically, there could be dozens of claims, hundreds of thousands in fraud. Mike was right. This was a pattern. I spent the rest of the day tracking down the other names in Kevin's notebook. 2 of them didn't answer their phones. 1 threatened to call the cops on me. But 2, a cashier named Jamal and a night stalker named Sandra, agreed to talk. They told similar stories. Financial trouble, Kevin suggesting an easy fix, Elias showing up to process the claim and making sure everything went smoothly. Small settlements, enough to solve the immediate problem, but not enough to trigger serious scrutiny. He made it sound so harmless, Sandra told me, over coffee at a Dunkin' Donuts. She was maybe 25, looked exhausted. Like, the insurance company has so much money they won't even notice. And I needed it. My mom's sick, her medications cost a fortune. I get it, I said. Though I didn't, not really. Did you know it was illegal? I mean, yeah, but I thought maybe it was one of those things that's technically illegal, but everyone does it, you know? Like speeding or downloading music or whatever. It's not like speeding. I know that now. She looked at her coffee. Are you going to turn us in? I'm turning in everyone. But I'm also making it clear that you were victims of Elias and Kevin. They targeted people with financial problems. That should count for something. Should? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But I'm gonna try. After Sandra, I met with Jamal at his apartment. He was maybe 30, had 3 kids. Wife was pregnant with their 4th. Kevin came to me right after my hours got cut, Jamal said. Said he could help. Introduced me to Elias. Next thing I know, I'm faking a back injury and walking out with 8 grand. And then? Then nothing. I paid off my car, got caught up on rent, and thought I was done. But Kevin came back a few months later with another opportunity. I said no. Why? Because my dad did 2 years in Attica for check fraud. Saw what prison did to him. I wasn't going down that road. He looked at me. You think I'm going to prison? Honestly, I don't know. But if you cooperate with investigators, tell them everything. Maybe you catch a break. Maybe. It's better than definitely going down for obstruction if you don't cooperate. He nodded slowly. Yeah? Yeah, okay. I'll talk to whoever needs to hear it. 1 week after I found Nadia with Elias, I walked into the State Insurance Fraud Bureau office with a briefcase full of evidence and a knot in my stomach the size of a bowling ball. Diana Walsh was exactly what Mike had described. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense attitude. She listened to my story without interrupting, then spent 2 hours going through every piece of evidence I'd brought. "Mr. Coleman," she said finally, "this is impressive." "Thanks? I mean it. Most people in your situation would either do nothing or come in here with half-assed documentation and hurt feelings. You built a case. That's rare." "I had help. My brother-in-law is a cop. Mike Torres. I know him. Good man." She leaned back in her chair. "All right, here's where we are. Based on what you've brought me, I believe you were an unwitting participant in your wife's fraud. However, I'll need to verify that through investigation. Can you pass a polygraph?" "Yes." "Good. We'll arrange that. In the meantime, I'm opening an investigation into Elias Grant, Nadia Coleman, and Kevin Walsh. The other individuals you identified, the employees who filed false claims, we'll approach them as witnesses initially. If they cooperate, we may offer immunity in exchange for testimony. And if they don't, then they get charged too. But my experience is that small fish are usually happy to flip on bigger fish. Kevin and Elias are the ones running this operation. They're who I want." "What about Nadia?" Diana's expression softened slightly. "She's going to face charges, multiple counts of insurance fraud. Based on the amounts involved, we're talking about Class D felonies. She's looking at probation if she pleads guilty and cooperates, possibly jail time if she fights it." My stomach twisted. "How long?" "Depends on the judge, her criminal history, whether she shows remorse. Could be probation and restitution. Could be 18 to 24 months. It's hard to say." I nodded. I'd known this was coming, but hearing it out loud was different. "Mr. Coleman, I have to ask, are you prepared to testify against your wife?" "Yes." "Even if it means she goes to prison?" I met her eyes. "She committed crimes. Real crimes that affect real people. Someone's grandmother probably can't afford insurance now because rates went up from fraud like this. So yeah, I'm prepared to testify. I'm not happy about it, but I'm prepared." Diana nodded. "Good. Because this is going to get uncomfortable. Nadia's lawyer, and she will get a lawyer, is going to try to paint you as complicit. They'll argue you knew about everything, benefited from the money, and now you're trying to save yourself by throwing her under the bus. But I didn't know. I believe you. But we need to prove it. That's where the polygraph helps. Also, we'll need to trace the money. Show that the fraudulent settlements went into accounts you didn't access, paid off debts you didn't know about. Can you provide bank records? Everything's joint accounts. That complicates things. But we'll work with it. The key is showing you had no knowledge of the fraud and took no action to benefit from it. Working double shifts to replace supposedly stolen items actually helps your case. It shows you believe the burglary was real." "It was all real to me," I said quietly. "I know. And that's going to come through. You're credible, Mr. Coleman. You've got steady employment, no criminal history, and you came forward voluntarily with documentation. That counts for a lot." She stood up, extended her hand. "I'll be in touch within 48 hours. In the meantime, do not contact Nadia, Elias, Kevin, or any of the other individuals involved. No phone calls, no texts, no social media. If they reach out to you, document it, but don't respond. Understood. And Mr. Coleman, thank you. Cases like this, where the victim does the right thing even when it's hard, those are the ones that make this job worthwhile. I shook her hand and left. The next 3 weeks were a blur of interviews, document reviews, and waiting. I took a polygraph and passed. Investigators interviewed my coworkers, my boss, my neighbors, anyone who could corroborate that I'd been working double shifts and had genuinely believed we'd been robbed. Nadia hired a lawyer, some guy named Breslin who specialized in white-collar crime. He sent me a cease and desist letter telling me not to talk to investigators about Nadia without her present. I showed it to Diana, who laughed and said it had no legal weight since I wasn't her lawyer or doctor. Elias lawyered up immediately and refused to talk to anyone. Kevin tried to cut a deal, offering to testify against Elias in exchange for immunity. Diana was considering it. The other employees, Jamal, Sandra, and 3 others I'd tracked down, all agreed to cooperate. Diana gave them limited immunity in exchange for testimony. They were scared but honest, which helped. Mike kept me updated on the unofficial gossip. Apparently, Elias Grant had been on the Insurance Fraud Bureau's radar for a while. Multiple suspicious claims processed by him over the past 5 years, but nothing concrete enough to prosecute. My case was the thread that unraveled the whole sweater. They're going after him hard, Mike told me, over beers at his place. Elena, my sister, hovered in the background with a look that said she wanted to mother me but knew I'd hate it. Diana's theory is he's been running this con all over Western New York. Different stores, different women, same pattern. Get someone in debt, suggest fraud, process the claim, take his cut, sometimes sleep with them, sometimes not. How many? They've identified 11 possible cases so far. Still investigating. Jesus. Yeah. You might have taken down an entire fraud ring without meaning to. I just wanted to clear my name. Well, you did that and then some. Diana called the chief yesterday, told him you're completely clear. In fact, you're officially a cooperating witness now. That's as good as it gets? I felt a weight lift off my chest. So I'm not losing my job? Nope. Your union rep knows what's going on, vouched for you. You're golden. Elena finally came over, sat down next to me. How are you doing, really? I don't know, I said honestly. Some days I'm angry. Some days I just feel empty. Like the past 11 years were a lie. They weren't all a lie, she said gently. Nadia made bad choices, but that doesn't erase everything good that happened. Feels like it does. I know, but you'll get through this. You're strong, Ray. Stronger than you think. I wasn't sure about that, but I appreciated her saying it. That night, alone in my house, because it was my house now, Nadia had officially moved in with her sister. I did something I'd been avoiding. I looked through our photo albums. There we were on our wedding day, young and hopeful and stupid. There we were at Niagara Falls, at a Bills game, at her company Christmas party. There I was with my arm around her, both of us smiling like we had everything figured out. When had it gone wrong? When she opened that first credit card and didn't tell me? When Kevin suggested the slip and fall scam? When Elias showed up and made everything seem easy? Or had it been wrong from the start, just in ways I couldn't see? I closed the album and put it away. Some questions don't have answers. 5 weeks after I found Nadia with Elias, The arrests happened. I wasn't there for it. Diana thought it would be better if I maintained distance, but Mike filled me in on the details. They'd coordinated the whole thing: state investigators, local police, even the DA's office. Elias Grant was arrested at his home on a Tuesday morning, charged with multiple counts of insurance fraud, conspiracy, and, this was new, extortion. Apparently, he'd been pressuring some of his victims to file additional claims or face him reporting their previous frauds. Real piece of work. Kevin Walsh was arrested at the grocery store. They walked him out in handcuffs in front of customers and employees. His bond was set at $50,000. His wife divorced him 3 days later. Nadia turned herself in with her lawyer. That was the hardest part for me. Diana called to let me know it was happening, and I stood in my kitchen staring at the phone, thinking about my wife, ex-wife. The divorce papers were filed in a police station, being fingerprinted and photographed and processed like a criminal. Because she was a criminal. Her bond was set at $25,000. Her parents paid it. I didn't go to the hearing. The preliminary hearings were a circus. Local news picked up the story. Insurance fraud ring busted in Buffalo. My name was kept out of it as a cooperating witness, but everyone in my neighborhood knew. I got looks at the grocery store, whispers at work. Most people were supportive. Guys at the Union Hall kept telling me they'd have done the same thing. But some people thought I'd thrown my wife under the bus to save myself. Let them think it. I knew the truth. The prosecution offered deals to everyone except Elias. Kevin took 5 years probation, full restitution, permanent ban from working in retail management. He'd testify against Elias in exchange for no jail time. Nadia's lawyer tried to negotiate, but Diana wasn't budging. The offer was 18 months probation, $6,400 in restitution, and a guilty plea to 3 counts of insurance fraud. If she didn't take it, they'd go to trial and push for jail time. She took the deal. The hearing where Nadia pled guilty was the first time I'd seen her in 6 weeks. She'd lost weight, looked like she hadn't been sleeping. Her lawyer kept a hand on her arm like he thought she might bolt. The judge went through the charges one by one. Each time Nadia said, "Guilty, Your Honor," in a voice I barely recognized. When it was over, the judge sentenced her to 18 months probation, ordered restitution, and gave her a stern lecture about integrity and consequences. Then it was done. I left the courthouse before she could try to talk to me. I knew she'd want to explain, apologize, beg for forgiveness. I wasn't ready for that. Might never be ready for that. Elias's trial was scheduled for 3 months out. He was fighting everything, maintaining his innocence, claiming the witnesses were lying. His lawyer was good, expensive, aggressive, the kind who attacks victims on the stand. Diana warned me it might get ugly. "He's going to paint you as a jealous husband," she said during one of our prep sessions. "Suggest you're making all this up because of the affair. Can you handle that?" I've been handling it for 2 months. I can keep handling it. Good. Because his lawyer is going to come at you hard. Your job, your finances, your marriage, everything is fair game. Bring it on. The trial started on a cold Monday in February. I was the prosecution's star witness. I spent 6 hours on the stand over 2 days, walking the jury through everything: the discovery, the evidence, the other victims, the pattern of fraud. Elias's lawyer tried to rattle me, asked why I'd waited so long to report the initial burglary if I was so concerned about fraud, asked if I'd benefited financially from any of the settlements, asked if I was testifying to hurt Nadia Because she'd cheated on me. I answered every question calmly, factually. Let the jury see who was telling the truth. The other witnesses testified. Kevin, looking diminished in his cheap suit, detailed how Elias had recruited him, taught him how to stage incidents, processed fraudulent claims. Sandra and Jamal described how they'd been manipulated, pressured into participating. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Guilty on all counts. Elias Grant was sentenced to 30 months in state prison, loss of his insurance license, and full restitution to all victims. His lawyer immediately filed an appeal, but Diana said it wouldn't go anywhere. The evidence was overwhelming. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. 3 months after the trial ended, I filed the final divorce papers. Nadia didn't contest anything. She got her car, her personal belongings, and half our savings, which wasn't much after legal fees. I got the house, my truck, and my peace of mind. We met one last time to sign the papers at her lawyer's office. Nadia looked better than she had at the hearing, like she'd been eating again, sleeping again. Her probation officer had gotten her into counseling for the shopping addiction. She was working at a coffee shop now, something without access to money or inventory. "Ray," she said when the lawyers stepped out to make copies. "Can we talk?" "About what?" "About us, about how sorry I am." "I know you're sorry, Nadia, but sorry doesn't fix this." "I know." She twisted her wedding ring. She was still wearing it, I noticed. I want you to know it wasn't about you. The cheatin', the fraud, none of it. You were always good to me. This was my problem, my weakness. I appreciate you saying that. Do you think someday we might be able to be friends?" I thought about it. Maybe. Someday. Not today, though. "Not today," she agreed. The lawyers came back with the papers. We signed them. Just like that, 11 years of marriage ended with ink on paper. I drove home alone, same as I'd been doing for months now. But somehow it felt different. Final. 6 months after the trial, I was doing okay. Not great, but okay. Work was steady. The union had asked me to join their insurance committee after everything that happened. Apparently, having a guy who knows insurance fraud inside and out is useful when you're negotiating benefits packages. It meant extra meetings, extra responsibilities, but also extra pay. And it felt good to use what I'd learned to help other people avoid what happened to me. I'd sold the house. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. Got a decent price and bought a smaller place in North Buffalo, close to Delaware Park. It needed work, but I liked having projects. Gave me something to do with my evenings besides think. Elena and Mike had me over for dinner most Sundays. Their kids were good distraction. Hard to dwell on your failed marriage when a 6-year-old is showing you his Lego spaceship and demanding you be impressed. I even started dating again, sort of. Met a woman named Jennifer Martinez at a community meeting about insurance fraud awareness. Yeah, I'd become that guy, the one who gives talks at community centers. She worked for a bank, helped people with financial planning. We got coffee a few times, went to a movie. Nothing serious, but it was nice to remember what normal felt like. One Saturday in August, I was at the park, sitting on a bench with a book I wasn't really reading, when someone sat down next to me. Nadia. "Hey," she said. "Hey." We sat in silence for a minute. Then she said, "I saw you give that talk at the community center last month, the one about fraud awareness. You were there?" "In the back. I didn't want to make things weird, so I left before anyone noticed." "It wouldn't have been weird." Yes, it would have. She smiled slightly. You were good, though. People listened. Couple of them came up to me afterward, didn't know who I was, and said it was really helpful. That's good. I finished probation last week, she said. Made my last restitution payment. I'm officially done. Congratulations. Yeah. Doesn't feel like something to celebrate, but my counselor says I should acknowledge it. She looked at me. I got my associate's degree, business administration, online classes while I was working at the coffee shop. That's great, Nadia, really. I'm starting a new job next month, office manager for a dental practice. They knew about my record, hired me anyway. You'll do well. I hope so, she paused. I'm different now. I know that doesn't matter to you, but I want you to know. I go to counseling twice a month. I'm in a support group for shopping addiction. I haven't used a credit card in 8 months, debit only. I track every dollar I spend. I'm glad. Are you? She turned to face me. Are you glad I'm doing better? Or do you wish I was still struggling? I thought about it. I'm glad. What you did was wrong, and you deserve consequences. But I never wanted you to be miserable forever. Thank you, she said quietly. That means something. We sat for a while longer. Finally, Nadia stood up. Take care of yourself, Ray. You too. She walked away. I watched her go and I realized something. I didn't hate her anymore. I was angry for a long time and hurt and betrayed. But somewhere along the line, I'd let that go. Not forgiven exactly, but let go. That was enough. 1 year after I found Nadia with Elias Grant, I was at a union meeting when a guy I didn't recognize came up to me. Ray Coleman? He asked. That's me. Dennis Kowalski. I saw you speak at that insurance fraud thing last year. Just wanted to say thanks. For what? My daughter-in-law was getting into some sketchy stuff with her boss. Fake injury claim or something. After I heard you talk about the consequences, I sat her down and told her what could happen. She backed out before filing anything. Good. I'm glad she listened. Yeah, well, you saved her from making a huge mistake. So thank you. He shook my hand and walked away. That was the thing I'd learned over the past year. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel like it matters. You turn in your wife, blow up your marriage, watch people go to prison, and for what? Justice? Integrity? Those words sound good, but they don't fill the empty side of the bed at night. But then someone tells you they avoided making the same mistake because of something you did, and suddenly it matters again. I drove home that night thinking about my dad. The guy who worked 30 years without cutting corners, who died with nothing but his dignity. I used to think that was a bad deal. Now I understood. Dignity compounds. It might not show up in your bank account, but it shows up everywhere else. My phone buzzed. Text from Jennifer. Dinner tomorrow? I'll cook. I smiled and texted back, yeah, sounds good. The house was quiet when I got home, but it was a good quiet. My quiet. I'd earned it by doing the hard thing, the right thing, the thing that cost me everything but left me with something more valuable than what I'd lost. I'd earned my peace. And that, I was learning, was worth more than any insurance settlement, any fraudulent claim, any easy money. It was worth everything,